been out of nursing school.
It's going on for years.
Ain't it? It's perplexed. It's wild. It's wild.
I don't see nothing funny.
Here, let me crack a joke.
You ain't gotta crack no
I want
jokes.
y'all to stop telling people what they can do. These are adults. Stop talking to people like
I'm
that.
not gonna stop
She
talking.
don't have to
Chill,
listen to
chill,
you.
chill.
I ain't gotta stop talking.
She don't have to pay you a
She
big
ain't gotta, she don't.
So be
Why,
quiet.
you're not my father. My father named Roscoe.
Be
Not
quiet.
anything
Well,
else.
maybe I should be here.
No, you're not my daddy.
Stop acting
You're
foolish.
not my daddy.
Brenda, stop.
You're not my daddy.
I got a lot going on. Me, I will slam laptop shut until January. I don't give a fuck. I'ma just whoop. I'ma sink y'all next year because I ain't gonna be bothered with the bullshit for the rest.
That's it. That's the people out there trying to have a
Good evening and welcome to the Cleveland Community Police Commission full commission meeting for the month of December. We're located at the Midtown Collaboration Center, 1974 East 66th Street, Cleveland, Ohio 44103. This meeting has been called to order. I want to welcome you all. We're going to move forward with the adoption of the agenda. Okay. Is there any changes to the agenda?
Do you need a second? Second.
Yeah. Is there any changes to the agenda? The only thing I'm going to do is strike the district policing committee presentations. That is not going to occur. So I would like to adopt the agenda with the change that the district policing committee presentations will not occur. All in favor of adopting the agenda with that correction? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so that passes. Thank you. So I'm going to read the meeting decorum statement. Okay, so this meeting of the Cleveland Community Police Commission is a lawful meeting. Under Section 605.04 of the codified ordinance, no person with the purpose to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting shall do any act which obstructs or interferes with the due conduct of such meeting. Members of the public are invited to speak in accordance with the public meeting rules. Disruptions including, but not limited to, speaking out of turn and/or making loud utterances that interfere with the due conduct of the lawful meeting may constitute as a misdemeanor and a violation of Section 605.04. If this meeting is disrupted, I will call for a recess and the room will be cleared. Persons who violate the city ordinance and commit misdemeanors may be subject to prosecution. When the body is able to return from recess, then it complies with the Ohio Open Meetings Act in Section 101.021 of the codified ordinance, the meeting will be open to the public again. Okay, so we're gonna skip past approval of the meeting minutes because they were not completed. So we'll approve those in January. Because we have a presenter and they are kind of strapped for time, we're going to have our presenter give his presentation first, and then we'll have public comment after that, okay? Okay. Lieutenant?
Can everybody hear me? I'm Lieutenant Schwebbs. I'm with Cleveland Police. I'm the officer in charge of the training section.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sergeant Jake Simonelli. I'm the officer in charge of the Academy Unit.
Is that mic on? Make sure the mic green.
Green light.
It is green.
Make sure you gotta have it really close to
Turn it
you.
up.
Thank you.
Yeah, and maybe bring it a little closer to you.
How about now?
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to give a presentation on Miranda rights according to our General Police Order 2.0203. This provides guidance to the officers on this specific topic, Miranda rights, and when we need to read them. So the purpose of the policy is to ensure that all questioning of criminal subjects or alleged criminal subjects complies with the Constitution and state laws. We need to respect the fundamental rights of all individuals. That's the purpose of the policy, and the Miranda warning shall be afforded to an individual as a procedural safeguard to protect their Fifth Amendment right against involuntary self-incrimination. Miranda occurs when a person is in custody or otherwise deprived of the freedom of action in any significant way, or when he or she is being questioned under custody. So some key definitions in our policy include what custody is, and that is when a person is in custody under one or two circumstances. They are verbally told that they are under arrest, or when based on the totality of the circumstances, a person would reasonably believe there is a significant restraint on the freedom of movement and the ability to end the interaction. So basically what that means is if you're encountered by an officer and we tell you you're under arrest or you do not feel free to leave, then it can constitute custody. Then there's interrogation, which is any direct questioning or any words or actions other than normally attendant to arrest and custody that the officer knows or reasonably should know would elicit an incriminating response. So basically, you have to be in custody, and I have to be asking you questions about an alleged criminal offense. That would be an interrogation. Anything that would revolve around that alleged crime. Then we have juvenile. That's, of course, anybody under the age of 18. So the general requirements in our policy is it's based on United States Supreme Court case law. It's Miranda versus Arizona, which was decided in 1966. There's been many updates to this particular case law over the years that help define the parameters of when to give Miranda. They are all not listed here, but that's the base case law. And it's officers shall provide the Miranda warning when both of the following criteria are met. Again, custody, and the officer is to question or interrogate the suspect about any crime. Miranda warnings are not required prior to any incriminating spontaneous statement. So all that basically means is if I arrest you, I don't have to ask you any questions at all. If you start talking about your alleged criminal offense, Miranda does not apply, because I'm not interrogating you in any way, shape, or form. You're just spontaneously giving me that information. If there's any doubt about whether custody and interrogation is or are present, the officers shall resolve the doubt in favor of giving Miranda warning. So basically what that means is if you start talking about your criminal activity, it's best practice for an officer just to say, hey, let me advise you your Miranda warnings, all right, so that you don't incriminate yourself. In all cases of custodial interrogation, regardless whether an arrest is made or not, an officer shall record the and then we would obviously list it in our field-based report about the incident. We would say that we read you your Miranda rights. Advising of rights. So when advising an individual of their Miranda rights, officers shall include the following. This is everything you hear basically on TV. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be used against you in court. You have the right to an attorney prior to and during any questioning. If you cannot afford any attorney, one will be appointed for you, and you can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. So you can say, I'm going to invoke my Miranda rights and not say a word, or you can tell whatever you want once you've been arrested or you're in custody. So the questioning officer shall ask the subject to verbally affirm that he or she understands the Miranda warning rather than by a nod of a head or other physical gestures. So you have to physically say, I understand them. You have to verbally express that. Officers shall stop questioning an individual when they have requested an attorney and may resume questioning once the attorney is present. So if you tell an officer, I want my attorney present, questioning must cease. So there's certain cases that are specific to Miranda where we take extra precautionary measures. One of them, you want to do it?
Yeah, I'll take over. So, like the lieutenant was saying, and I'll read it right here, in the case of an individual who is deaf or hard of hearing or of limited English proficiency, the Miranda warning shall be administered via a qualified interpreter consistent with General Police Order 1.3.38, limited English proficiency. For LEP individuals, where possible, the officer shall use a Your Rights form that has been translated into the subject's primary language. I could say that I've utilized this software in what the division has to offer. Miranda has been given in multiple languages, obviously a very diverse city. It is something that is used quite often by Cleveland police officers. When questioning a juvenile, officers shall consider the juvenile's age when determining whether the juvenile would not feel free to leave. A juvenile may be in custody for purposes of the Miranda rule when an adult in the same circumstances would not. Obviously, kind of self-explanatory there. If there are 5 police officers surrounding a 9-year-old, that 9-year-old may not feel free to leave, where a full-grown adult male may feel free to leave. Officers shall explain the Miranda warning in an age-appropriate manner, and each warning shall be read slowly and at one time. The following are examples of age-appropriate Miranda warnings. This comes right from our General Police Order. You have the right to remain silent. That means you do not have to talk to me. Obviously, that is toned down a little bit for a juvenile to understand a little bit easier. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to get help from a lawyer before you talk to me. You may also have your parent or legal guardian present. If you or your family cannot pay a lawyer, the court will get one for you for free. You have the right to stop this interview at any time. Do you understand these rights that I have explained to you? Do you want to have a lawyer present if you choose to talk to me? Do you want your mother, father, or legal guardian present if you choose to talk to me? Do you want to talk to me? Those are some examples of how you can issue Miranda in an age-appropriate manner depending on who you're speaking with. To ensure the juvenile understands their rights, the officer shall ask the individual to explain each of the advisements in their own words. Basically, after every line, what does that mean to you? How do you interpret what I just told you? Officers shall stop questioning when the juvenile has requested an attorney, parent, or guardian. Officers may resume questioning when the attorney, parent, or guardian is present. However, no parent or guardian may waive the juvenile's right to counsel.
All right, so there's guidelines on waiving Miranda. And what that basically means is once you're advised of your Miranda rights, you can say, I waive them, and choose to speak. So it's, if you waive it, anything you say, it basically has to be made voluntarily, and you have to understand your rights, and the waiver must not be due to any type of coercion. So I can't coerce you in any way, shape, or form to make you speak. To determine whether a subject will waive the Miranda rights after advising a subject of his or her rights, the officer shall ask, having these rights in mind and having stated that you understand these rights, do you wish to talk to me or us now? Officers shall only question a subject if the subject has answered in an affirmative to the above question. So you have to say that you understand it and that you wish to speak. Officers shall consider the totality of the circumstances when determining whether a juvenile has knowingly and voluntarily waived the Miranda, including the youth's age, mentality, and prior criminal experience, the length, intensity, and frequency of the interrogation, and whether or not a parent was present at the time of the waiver. So, invocation of Miranda rights. Questioning of a subject shall not take place when the subject of the custodial interrogation invokes their right to remain silent, is unable or indicates their inability to either understand Miranda or do so knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily. You have to indicate if they indicate they want to have counsel, or if a juvenile indicates he or she wishes to have counsel, a parent or guardian present before answering questions or any time during the interrogation, or appears to be significantly impaired by substances or mental impairment. So if you're under the influence of, you can't make a rational decision, we can't do any question. So if a subject waives the Miranda rights but subsequently states that he or she does not want to answer questions or want an attorney present, all questions have to cease immediately. So if the subject is vague in their response about whether or not they want an attorney present or does not explicitly waive his or her right to an attorney, officers shall specifically determine whether the subject wishes to have counsel present or if the subject will waive their right to counsel. So to make this determination, the officers shall ask the subject to confirm with a yes or a no. Want to do that?
Yeah. If a subject invokes their right to remain right to silence, but does not invoke the right to an attorney, all questioning shall cease immediately. Questioning may be reinitiated by officers if they wait a significant amount of time, at least 2 hours, provide the Miranda warning again, limit the questions to a crime that was not the subject of the earlier questioning, if there was maybe a separate incident that the officer is looking to speak to. Did you have a question?
Just a clarifying question, do you have to meet all three of those, or each of those are different situations?
Yeah, those would be different situations. They could correlate, but those were just different examples. If after invoking their right to silence, a subject initiates conversations with the officers about the same topic, officers' questioning may proceed after providing the Miranda warning again. This is something that we do see. Somebody wishes to have an attorney present. The officer understands that. They discontinue questioning. 5 minutes later, the individual does want to talk about the crime. All right, well, let's slow down. You did invoke your right to remain silent, and we can reissue Miranda if they want to speak more about the topic. If a subject invokes their right to an attorney, all officers shall immediately cease questioning. Questioning may be resumed if the subject is in the presence of their attorney. The subject reinitiates communications with the police. Officers provide the Miranda warning again, as I just explained, or the subject voluntarily agrees to waive their rights. In addition, if there is a break in custody, officers can ask the subject to waive his or her Miranda rights again after 14 days.
So for breaks in interrogation, they may require officers to reread the Miranda warning before subsequent questioning, and officers shall consider the following factors when determining whether or not to read the rights again. So if there is a significant delay, more than 30 minutes, between the time the Miranda warning is first given and the questioning begins again. An officer questions any subject for the first time, even though the subject received the Miranda warning previously from another officer, and the location where the subject is being questioned differs from the location where the subject was read the Miranda rights. So if there's any doubt in an officer's mind for break of interrogation, officers shall resolve that doubt in favor of rereading your Miranda rights. So if there's any doubt at all, we reread it again to you to make sure that you fully understand it. The public safety exception to the Miranda warning. So officers may temporarily forego the Miranda warning when necessary if they or the public are in immediate danger. So let's say, there's a bomb threat and you're the suspect. Where's the bomb, right? the good of the greater good of the public outweighs the Miranda, is basically what that's saying. Because the greater good of the public has to take precedence, because there's a major event going on. There's something big happening. In order for the public safety exception to apply, officers shall first determine if there is an objectively reasonable need to protect the police or public from an immediate danger associated with a weapon or other harmful objects. So once an officer has determined that the public safety exception applies, the officer may question a subject without the Miranda warning as long as the questions asked are related to the danger and reasonably necessary to secure public safety. Once the emergency ends, this exemption no longer applies. So that's pretty much it. We have to conduct everything lawfully, fairly, and respectfully, and respect the constitutional rights of the public. Yes, ma'am. Are we taking questions, Ray?
I'm a private investigator.
Yeah.
All that stuff you read is true, but you spend internal affairs, and you know they don't do that. They rush to judgment. Now, me personally, as a private investigator, I do not talk to a juvenile without their parent. Now, I've had some situations where a grandmother said, I got custody with you, you need to show me your custody papers, because I don't want to be in the trick bag where something happened and said, I did it anyway. I have a case right now with one of your officers, I'm not going to mention the name, that rushed to judgment, and didn't even do the investigation. The client is on bond, of course, he got an ankle bracelet. And I went out to talk to these people, and half the people he didn't even talk to.
Okay.
So I hear what you're saying, this is true, but the issue is, that's why this commission is needed, they do not follow that.
Okay.
And they continuously break that.
Okay, well, the only response I can say to that is that this is how all of our officers are trained. As someone who oversees the training section, along with the assistance of Sergeant Simonelli and many other trainers, I am a legal instructor for the state of Ohio. I'm certified by the state to teach law. I had to go to a special class for that. This is how our officers are trained. From the moment they come in till the time they retire, we do continuous updates on search and seizure, use of force, Miranda, all of it. I mean, it's continuously drilled into their head. Now, for those officers that you may be speaking about, there are,
I'm telling the truth.
well, there are people that either make mistakes or just, okay.
I'm
But
sorry,
there-
I'm sorry, Brenda. I'm
but-
sorry, Brenda. One second. So we're going to move forward to commissioner questions.
Sure.
Then we'll take a few questions from the community if they have any, and we'll move on. Are there any commissioners that have questions? Emo?
Sorry.
Through the chair?
Yeah.
Through the chair, thank you both for being here. My question was about juveniles, right, under 18 and waiving their Miranda rights. Kind of thinking about that, is there like a certain like level of offense when you mentioned sometimes when you forego it completely? Is there like what type of event do you think constitutes waiving it completely?
Yeah, so I'll take that, Lieutenant.
In regards to a juvenile.
Okay, yes, so I'll say that in regards to waiving Miranda due to like danger, that is very rare. It is a very rare occurrence. That is like immediate life is in danger. I can say in my experience policing, that has never been the case. The vast majority of times where an interrogation is had and an individual is in custody, whether a juvenile or adult, Miranda should almost always be read. He mentioned a bomb threat, right? Something very drastic where mass casualties could happen. That would be one of those instances, whether a juvenile or adult. But for the most part, if whether a juvenile or adult, if they're in custody and they're being interviewed by an officer or detective, Miranda should be read. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else have questions? So I had two questions. My first, also along the lines of the juveniles, I just wanted to know when you spoke about, questioning a child. My first question was if a underage person, use like an example like a 9-year-old, if they say something like, "I want my mommy" or "I want my dad" or something like that, do you interpret that? Is that like enough to stop questioning them? Is that interpreted as we need to stop questioning them and we need to contact an adult? Or would, in those instances, would you sort of like repeat the child appropriate language and maybe continue?
Well, Miranda statements, you know, obviously have to be made voluntarily, intelligently, and, you know, knowingly. So if you have a very young juvenile, like you were suggesting, maybe they don't have the capability to understand, we would obviously get the parent involved.
Right.
You know, maybe even bring in somebody, you know, a specialized investigator to speak with that child instead.
Right, 'cause, I mean, I ask because I'm a teacher, and, you know, even working with high schoolers, you know, my sense would be that there would be a lot of fear that they would have. And I think that, you know, they would definitely be intimidated. And even, you know, this is, I don't know if this is language that you created or if this is like state language, but even the language that you read, I'm not really sure that all of the students that even I work with that are teenagers, if they would fully grasp it. So I was just a little concerned about sort of that. I get it, that you have to have the child appropriate language, but I'm not really sure if that language that you read would still be fully understood even by some of the teenagers that I know.
And that may be the case, but that's where we have specialized investigators in different units that can come and speak with the child, or we bring in outside resources like counselors or whomever. I mean, there's different ways to approach that type of situation. I mean, everything's on a case-by-case basis, and the language that is in our policy is based upon different case law related to Miranda. So a lot of that's where that language comes from.
Okay, thank you.
So-
And I guess to follow with that is, the language that you have you all taken that to maybe like educators, like maybe people that work with different age groups to basically be able to assess if that language is in fact like age appropriate? That might be something helpful.
Well, the policy is from 2020. Obviously, we're under, you know, consent decree and, you know, things like that. So I can't answer that myself. I can get the answer for you, but I would imagine that there was some type of collaboration.
Yeah, that might be
In some
helpful.
aspect, I would imagine, but I can't answer that fully without knowing that.
Okay.
I wasn't involved in the creation of the policy.
Okay, thank you. And then I guess my other question was about the, because I think the reason why Commissioner Miller asked you to be here was it had to do with the concern about Miranda in one of the civilian complaints that we looked at. And I don't know if I missed it, but in that case, there was Miranda was done, and then like the officer followed up in a short amount of time to basically do it again. Is there like a set amount of time? So if you ask someone, if you Miranda somebody, 2 hours. Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Okay.
Never mind. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Lieutenant. I'm sorry about that. Does any of the community members have questions for the lieutenant?
It was stated earlier that it's not always being done, and you stated it may be because of a mistake that was made, or just simply there's, you know, you have some officers that's not doing it. How are the officers held accountable? How do you hold them accountable, and where do you get to the point where, okay, we have to take this step to hold them accountable?
That's a great question. So it kind of piggybacks off with what you were saying. So there are avenues. So let's say, for example, you're subject to arrest and you know the officer made a mistake, right? You have the Office of Professional Standards you can make a complaint with. You have Internal Affairs. And generally, after the investigation's done, I can tell you that there are officers that come down to the training section when they do make errors in judgment, and not maliciously, they just forget or they're in the heat of the moment. We're human. They get retrained on the topic matter. So that's another avenue. So they'll either be held accountable by one of those two bodies that I mentioned, either through disciplinary measures, or it could be a combo of disciplinary measures and retraining, or it could just be retraining. Maybe it wasn't a malicious thing. So it just depends on the case, but there are avenues to correct those things. And that's what the training section does. We help retrain them and make them better. That's the goal. Yes, ma'am.
And you're correct, they do have training. One mistake, one time, two times, but when it's going 3 times, that's intentional. And the officers keep doing the same thing. And I'm just gonna put it out there. so you guys would know. What he's saying is true. They do get trained. They do go back for training, but they continuously do what they think they're going to get away with. That's why it's very important this commission is here. Very important, very critical. This gentleman used to work internal affairs. He may not can say it, but he knows I'm not lying about what I'm saying. So that's all I'm gonna say. Juveniles especially is always getting bullied by the detectives in the police department. And I know that for a fact because I investigate for those juveniles with their attorney. I know that. And a lot of times they'll say, I want my mother or father. They keep on going. And I ask them, if they ask for their mother and father, why would you keep going? Why don't you just stop? But because they wear blue in the badge, they feel they are not going to be held accountable for it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to speak straight from experience. I was 12 years old, and an incident took place in a community where a young man was stabbed. My mother was not at home, and I ran home, waited for her to come home. Before she got home, the police were there. I opened the door. They escorted me out. They didn't say 2 words to me, okay? They took me to the precinct. I sat in the precinct. I didn't say 2 words to them. They didn't say 2 words to me until my parents got there, okay? So, in my opinion, no juvenile, 15, 16, or 17, can think like any adult sitting in this room right now, right? And I think we all can agree to that. So, personally, I don't think any juvenile should be interviewed without a parent or a legal representation. That's just my personal opinion, because no juvenile, I don't know if you have kids or not, if you're paying attention to your kids, they don't comprehend to the things that adults comprehend to, okay? And it's refreshing to hear that you took classes and that you train other officers. I will agree with you. It's a human decision when those officers are out in the field, and it's more on them to rely on what they were trained to do versus going on their own and thinking things are okay to do. So I want to thank you guys for even being here. I want to say happy holidays to my CPC panel, and I wish you guys a happy holiday going into the next year.
Thank you, same to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a question. What about those that have mental health? In this community, we have a lot of people who suffer from mental health. And does it change, or do you guys work? Is it different when you're questioning somebody with mental health, even though they're an adult? Because we have a lot of people who have mental health who are not on their medications. Police get to ask them the questions, they go ahead and cop to it, but there's a mental health component that's being excluded, and it just pushes forward right to the courts, and they're charged, and they're never, that mental health piece, because they're not in their right minds, is not evaluated or taken into consideration. What part does the Miranda have to do, or what compilation does the police have for those with mental health when they are being questioned?
It's a good question. So Miranda is geared towards, again, being able to intelligently and knowingly and voluntarily be able to make a statement. So when we have somebody who's suffering from mental health concerns, we have specialized detectives, we have resources within our department that would help with that questioning. As you know, there's a plethora of community resources that we can help gear them to, right? The goal isn't to put people in prison here, okay? That's not the goal. The goal is to keep them out of it, right? I'm an officer. I don't like taking people to jail. Now that sounds counterintuitive to what I do for a living, but that's not why I do policing, right? I'm here to protect the community, make a difference, and make things better. I grew up in Cleveland, right? So there are avenues. We have things in the department that would help with that. Now, unfortunately, there are times they make it to the court system, but that's why we have a mental health court docket to help people with those. It's supposed to help those people that have those issues. Okay? I mean, there are resources. That's about all I could say on that matter. Do you have anything you would like to add?
Yeah, Lieutenant, I'll add to that too. That's a great question, and I think a lot of like trying to measure if that statement would move forward to court, that would come from a little bit past us. If we read Miranda to somebody that was suffering from mental health and they made a statement that sounds guilty, really it would be up to a court to decide if that would be suppressed or not. Like the lieutenant mentioned, our policy does state that we need to take their mental their mental health or their mental condition as a factor. Right now, our division is doing our best to steer the mentally ill towards treatment versus jail, if that makes sense, right? If a crime is committed, how serious, what type of crime is it? Can we get them help versus arresting them? So if a statement is made and they are not actually being charged with a crime, right, the Miranda wouldn't apply as much versus if criminal charges are moving forward, it very well could be seen down the road as in a suppression hearing if they were not made in the right state of mind, if that makes sense. That's a great question.
And we also have officers on the road that have specialized training in crisis intervention. So we're working on building that up even more than it is. So we have officers out there that are doing it. Right now, we're currently working on getting all our field training officers through that program. So we're doing our best.
Anyone else?
Per department, are there metrics in place to track the complaints? And if there's not, how do you know if it's gotten better, if it's gotten worse?
Okay, good question. Everything we do now is data-driven. So complaints come in, it's all logged. We have internal systems that track those things. Internal Affairs has it. We both were Internal Affairs at one time, so I know, we know how that's tracked. But it's tracked internally. Obviously, we have oversight. We have oversight of this panel. We have oversight of the Department of Justice. So we provide statistics. So how many arrests we made? How many people in crisis have we encountered? How many complaints came in? That's all digitally tracked and analyzed in order to make things better than what they are. So let's say it comes down to a training issue. We realize we have a lot of complaints for, let's say, use of force. They'll come to the training section and say, hey, look, we're getting all these complaints about uses of force. We need to take a better look at this. The training section will look at it, and we have what we call subject matter experts help us look at it. And then we'll modify our training to help mitigate that so that those statistics come down. So that's what we do as a police department. Does that answer your question? Okay.
All right, is there anyone else? Okay, we're gonna move forward to the next section. Thank you, Lieutenant. Thank you, Officer, for your presentation. I feel like I learned a lot, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you. I'm sorry, can you hand me the public comment sheet, please?
Oh, okay, there is something.
Thanks, buddy. Okay, so we're moving forward to our public comment portion of our meeting. Even if you didn't sign up for this sheet, if you want to make a public comment, just let me know. I'll start with the first name on the list, Brenda Bickerstaff.
Okay, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna keep saying it. We work very hard to put you guys where you are. The charter, we work very hard. And we expect for all of y'all to do your work. And if you don't do work, you should not get paid. And if you don't want to do the work of the commission, you should not be on the commission. Just leave. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's not funny that my brother got shot 5 times in the back. And when I got to the hospital, he had handcuffs on him and he was dead. That's not funny. And my dad was a cop for 33 years for the city. And my cousin was a cop too, who passed away 2 years ago. My sister was one in Pennsylvania who just retired. So it's not funny. So when I ask questions on something, I don't call y'all every day. I don't ride your back. I let things happen because I know there's things that's been going on that you're trying to correct. But I don't think this is funny. I don't think this is funny at all. I don't think it's funny that you get paid and you're not doing your job. I got a problem with that. And that's a big issue with me. You might think, oh, well, she just talking. No, I'm not talking, because some of you guys are not doing your job. And that's taxpayers' money. And spending taxpayers' money, I'm going to say something about that. Doing your work on this commission is hard and it's challenging. And you know, I know it is. But I still expect for you to do your job. It shouldn't be a year later and we're still dealing with that commander issue. Over a year. Over a year. I said nothing for over a year. You think it's funny, Ms. Rodriguez? It's not funny. It's not funny. If you're not going to do the job, just leave. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to make a public comment?
Great day, everybody. My name is Shari Thomas, and I am the co-founder and CEO of Rivers in the Desert. And we were one of the proud recipients of the grant that the CPC awarded several months ago. And feels like there has been a stall in the process. I've called, I've emailed, I've reached out, and I haven't received any response where we are in the process. I am a small nonprofit, 501c3, and you know, this is kind of a reimbursement grant. We work really hard at what we do in the community. We're very diligent about the work we do, and so we would love to know where we are in the process, how much longer. You know, what we need is to know, I'm at the point where I just need a contract, you know. Is it going to legal? When do I submit my budget? And I mean, it's okay if it doesn't happen. Look, we waited forever, you know, the last time, but if it doesn't happen, we would just like a response so we'll know where we stand, how long it's going to take, when we can expect our first disbursement, because it's hard. We don't have a lot, you don't have money in the bank. So I was really, you know, my organization has really been depending on this. And so if we could just get some kind of response, just somebody reach out and tell us where we are in the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Sabrina?
Since we're at public comments, we skipped over the District Policing Committee's presentation. So here's a question. Who was doing the invites? Who was letting us know we were coming? I'm a co-chair. Where's my invite? I'm confused because right on here it says we're supposed to be here tonight, but we're not here tonight. So if somebody could figure that out, I need it figured out. You know, when we talk about structure and putting things together and working as a community here in the city of Cleveland, you know, one of the things that I keep preaching, and I'm a long email writer, is some standards. Where are the standards? Somebody didn't think of us enough to even inform us about this, and it's not the first year. So this would be the third year that we've done these presentations. In the third year, we didn't get in, you know, we're not notified, and last minute don't work for me. Like you all, I have things to do, even if it's just going home and going to bed. That is what I want to do. So when you guys get a moment, can you guys try to figure out via the city and their collabs and their folk and figure out who is supposed to do what? Because we're not getting the correct information. We're being left in the dark. And if I'm left in the dark, I'm gonna come out in the light and ain't nobody gonna like what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna shine a big old bright light. We are the community. We do a lot, we give a lot, and we're there. Like, we're it. So if we're it, then tag us in and let us know when things are happening. Have a good day.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Do you know what Daryl's on the list, but he's out there. I don't know if you want to. Yeah. I'm giving him a couple seconds. Yeah. You want to say something? Okay. Samantha?
Ready? Hi, everyone. Some of you may know me. My name is Samantha Montanez, and I was a previous community engagement coordinator for the Cleveland Community Police Commission. Yes, thank you for my snaps. The thing I want to say is that I appreciate the work that you all do. I think that sometimes there are things that get overshadowed, and the work that you all do isn't amplified enough. But what I will say as a community member, that is what I'm here as, and nothing I say reflects my employer or anything else. There are things you can be doing more of. And the reason that I know that is because I intricately know who you are. I know what this commission is. I know what you're capable of. I know what you can do, what you cannot do. And there are so many people looking up to you. Not just myself, but individuals that live outside of Cleveland, who live in Cleveland, who live within the streets, who are doing this work, who are not doing this work. I had a conversation last night with someone very close to me who was like, I don't care what you're doing in your role. I don't care that you're having these conversations. We want to see external changes. And I was dumbfounded because I pride myself in the work that I do, right? But I couldn't say anything to her because she's so absolutely correct. It doesn't matter how many internal meetings that I have, the community will always want to see external changes, right? And so you all have the power to do that. And I support the authority, the influence, and everything that you all have over that external change that people can see. And I have trust in a lot of you guys. You know that. From me personally. I know you all, and at least some of you more on a personal level. And so I trust in you all. The community trusts in you all. And we're excited to see the work that you can do and that you will do. So I just end what I want to say in that there's a lot of trust in what you do. There's a lot of trust. There's a lot of hope in what you guys can accomplish. And lastly, I just want to say I'm so glad to see you all in whatever capacity I can. I'm glad I get to be integrated with you all throughout whatever work I get to do. If you need anything, I am here as a community member, as a fellow colleague. And yeah, so have a great evening.
Mr. Houston?
Once again, good afternoon, everybody. Good evening, everybody. I just want to add to a few things for you guys. Something to think about tonight. I call it food for thought. This is a very unique situation that you guys are in, and all of you put applications in because you guys thought that you could make a difference, and you guys are getting paid to try to make a difference. I would suggest that we do a little more aggressive outreach into the communities to get more people involved. That would be one of the things that I would suggest that you guys work on. I know it's not easy to deal with multiple personalities. You're looking at a person that had to deal with maybe 1,600 personalities. So I can imagine what this panel is going through when you're dealing with different personalities. But what I would ask and say to you guys, all of you collectively, that this is bigger than everyone sitting here, okay? This situation is a lot bigger than your personal situations. This is something that could change generations, okay? And you are making history by even sitting there right now, okay? And it's important that you put any personal differences to the side, because this is a hill that you will not make it up, okay? I need you guys to complete the assignment. I'm counting on it because I got skin in the game. See, I didn't do 16 years for nothing. And I didn't educate myself to sit quiet, okay? I am the trump card because I prepared for these days. And I'm here to show you whether I help you or I be against you. I'm not going anywhere. This is my life. This is my legacy. Okay? I don't have a relationship with 2 children based on being wrongfully in prison. I have a daughter that had a baby and I watched be born, only for this child to be infected with lead. Okay? And we all know what lead does to the human body. You're cooked. It's irreversible. So my vendetta and my beef is not with nobody up here personally. It's with the system, because I know the system can do better. And it's up to us as humans to make the system work and get away from these sidebars. Get away from being friends with people. Just because you're friends with an elected official don't mean he's doing his job, okay? Just because you got his personal number, that don't mean nothing when you go outside and you look around in your community, okay? I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican. I'm a human being who stands equally for equal justice for all. And I hope that hits home with a few of you, because I am not playing. And I mean it. I'll run you out of here. I promise you that. If you think you got more juice than me, try me, because I got my own money. See, I don't depend on nobody. I'm self-employed, and I got it. I got $100,000 to burn on the next campaign right now.
Time, thank you very much. There's no one else on the list, so with that being said, if there's no further public comments, I'm going to move forward to the next item on the agenda. Is there any further public comments? Okay. Oh, you want to do it now? Okay, we'll do it now. Go ahead.
So we'll just let, I think there was Commissioner Kincaid wanted to make a reply, and then I wanted to do one as well. So I don't know if there's any other commissioners that want to as well.
So Sabrina, hi Sabrina. So to just kind of briefly address the circumstances this evening with the presentation that was supposed to occur from the DPCs. We were kind of under the impression that what we were responsible for doing was securing a venue and locking in a calendar date. And I was under the impression that the rest of the communication would go through the department, seeing as the DPCs work directly with the commander and the co-chairs work directly with the commander. I was genuinely not aware that I needed to reach out to the commanders and or the co-chairs that operate those DPCs. I thought that that communication was given to you all directly. Now that I have learned, and obviously this is my first time attempting to organize this presentation, now that I have learned that that lapse in communication has occurred, then I will just take it on my shoulders to communicate with all of you directly. But what I need to do, and if maybe you can help me with this, I know that we've also been trying to coordinate. So before we leave here today, if we can coordinate so that I can make sure that I have effective contact information for each of you, and then I will just CC you all on the emails directly instead of putting it on the department to communicate with you. And this is not me blaming anyone. I think lapses of communication are just human error. You know, it is an entire police department. They have a lot of people to communicate with. So if that is something that I can take from them and just communicate with you directly, seeing as we are the civilians in the matter, then that is what we'll do moving forward. So I will just communicate with you and the other DPC chairs about rescheduling this so that we can get the presentation done. It probably will be at the top of the year rather than in the month of December, but we will figure that out. But for my end of the miscommunication, I take full accountability, and I'm very sorry that you all were not included, because you are obviously an extremely important part of the work that the DPCs do. As you mentioned, you are the community. We are the civilians in this matter, and this is why we're here. So we'll talk about it moving forward, if that's okay with you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kincaid. Co-Chair Adams.
Just wanted to address Ms. Thomas from Rivers in the Desert. I know that she has been reaching out to, my understanding is that what she needs right now is just to know that all of her paperwork has been received, and that that essentially her contract is ready to go. What I can say is that you are one of several grantees that are in the position that you're in. And what we're trying to do, I know had a conversation with the budget chair, Commissioner Ummelson, about it, but we are working. Like, we just sent out another correspondence. I tried to make some calls this morning on your behalf. Were you able to contact them? So yeah, he made some calls yesterday. I made some calls today, but we are working. I sent another email out to confirm the information that I know that you need. So I know that it's frustrating, and I know that you have been more than patient, and we've talked about it, but we are trying to get the confirmation for the information that you've requested.
And I'll say this, I'm known to make in-person visits to City Hall. I'll do that for you. Call me. Okay. All right, next line on the agenda, co-chair report given by Dr. Giles.
All right, good evening, everyone. We'll keep this brief. We'll hopefully keep it brief. So the update on the executive director search, as of right now, we did send a letter to the mayor. I can't remember the exact date. I think it's been about, is it close to a month? Whenever after our last meeting was. I know the mayor has been busy with especially the school, the things that are happening with the schools. I know he's been around the city doing a lot of meetings for that. But we did confirm a meeting with our candidate and the mayor for December 19th. So our candidate and the co-chairs will be meeting with the mayor about the nomination on the 19th, and clearly we will we'll follow up with whatever happens in that meeting with everyone. So there's the update there. Also, as far as the CPC subpoena legislation is concerned, it was tabled by I think it was the Safety Committee. They have requested a legislative summary for the legislation, and so that was sent over to the council. So we'll just wait to hear when they plan to put that back on their agenda and vote on the CPC legislation. And what that legislation will do, it will impose enforcement for the subpoena. So there will be a fine as well as potential jail time for not complying with our subpoenas, because in the charter we have subpoena authority, but there was no enforcement. So we have to work with council. Thank you to the finance department for sponsoring that for us, but that's where that legislation stands. So we'll hear from council, and I assume that when they are going to put it on the agenda, they'll probably contact us and ask for some representation. So when we hear that, we will update everyone. In terms of staffing, there's two things that we're working on. We're following up, the commission wanted temporary assistance. We are working with the HR director for that. But in the meantime, as we are working, trying to get temporary help, we also have working with the director of HR, Matthew Cole, on the job description. So what he described to us for our staffing and the job description, he says that the job descriptions that we have has to align with the requirements of the Civil Service Commission. And so he has sent us sort of those requirements, and then we are going to try to adjust those, not try to, we have to adjust those job descriptions so that they are in compliance with that. And then once we complete that, we'll send it back over to HR, and then they'll work with us to create what we need to actually post the positions. So we can post the positions before we have an executive director, but we cannot go through the process of hiring because that is authority that is given to the executive director in the charter. But I think we're all in agreement that the sooner we can get those jobs posted, the better for the commission. So our hope is that whenever we get the executive director, when they come in, that they will have, you know, a stack of applications to immediately begin looking at to start hiring staff. So that's where we are right now with the staffing issues. The next item I wanted to mention was the commissioner vacancy. In June, I believe it was June, or I can't remember the month, but we did have a commissioner, 13 commissioners sworn in. That commissioner is yet to serve on the commission. There were some issues concerning basically his employment status. There is I think it's in the collective bargaining agreement, which states that if an officer is not at like their full capacity or they're not fully functional as an officer, that they are not allowed to have secondary employment. And my understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Shereen, I think that this is considered secondary employment. And so there's been an issue with him being on the commission. And then there was also, the commissioners got a follow-up email about just basically his status on the commission. So we're essentially waiting for a response back from the city on that. But in the meantime, you know, we don't have a 13th commissioner, but we are working on getting a 13th commissioner, getting him on the commission. But just to update on that.
To the chairman.
Yes.
With regard to the issue of the 13th commissioner, has there been any communication with him regarding his intentions?
So to the commissioner, what I can say is there have been attempts via email, via text, via phone calls, but also there has been attempts via email, via phone calls, via text message to communicate, but there has not been a response. And also, I know that that the law department has also reached out to the Black Shield organization, and I think they've gotten sort of the same response that we've gotten as well.
To the chairman, I did have an opportunity to speak with him, and he indicated to me he'll be reaching out to you.
Okay.
Regarding his status.
Okay, that's good to know.
I spoke to him on Monday.
Okay, I'm glad someone was able to get in contact with him. But yeah, we have reached out, but hopefully I will get to talk to him soon. But do you have an update if you spoke to him? Do you have anything that you can add?
No, I think he should talk with you.
Okay. All right, thank you. So there's that. And then I think the next item was we have been having monthly meetings with Chief Todd, and I think those have been productive, just in the sense of just keeping a good open line of communication. And when we have those meetings, we essentially, we have items that we just want to address. She has items that she wants to address. We just kind of talk about them. And when we were at the meeting, we talked about sort of one of the items that we talked about was the settlement agreement issue, where for the public or anyone who's not familiar, there was a case with internal complaints case with officers from a few years back, and once that case was, investigated through the HR department, there was a settlement agreement reached with the officer involved in that case, and that seemed to deviate from how discipline is normally administered. So, we made a request to the Inspector General to basically investigate that process. And so when we spoke about it, the chief basically brought to our attention that perhaps the discipline that we would want to administer in some of these cases, that they may not be in compliance with the collective bargaining agreement. And she expressed her concern for that. And then she also had some questions about the corrective action policy that we passed. And so I took her concerns to the policy chair because I felt like that's where they belonged. And so I think there's going to be another discussion about some aspects of that policy. But what I think is, we don't agree on everything, but what I do think is useful in these discussions is that at least we're having like a regular meeting where we can, talk to each other directly and just hear each other out and then try to come up with some resolutions. But I know that we did get a chance to talk to Commissioner Van Leer, and I know that Commissioner Van Leer is going to reach back out to the people in the policy department for the from the police to sort of address what their concerns are. But that's essentially what those meetings are for. And I think that if there's anything that, if there's a concern from a community member or if there's anything from commissioners, I think that, we are having that direct line with her. So if there's anything you want us to bring up in any of those meetings, I would say reach out and let us know. Because it's for all of us and not just, for us to meet with her, but it's really for what's best for the commission. Commissioner Coleman?
Is the Inspector General's investigation still happening?
I would assume, yes. I did send an email to her. I can't remember, today's Wednesday. I don't know if it was Monday, but recently I sent an email asking for a follow-up. But she's a person of her word, and I trust that she's going to do the investigation before, all the parties are in agreement that she's going to do the investigation. But, I'll get some confirmation from that, and then we can follow up with everybody about where that investigation stands. But there was also another investigation that she is doing for us. So she's, I think, I know you were on the interview panel for the staffing. Does she have that staff person yet, or is she still by herself?
I wasn't included in the final selection process, but I can reach out to her.
Yeah, because I know that I also have to remember, even though we call it the Office of the Inspector General, she is an office of one. So if she has 2 investigations from us, I'm sure she's just not working for us. So we can follow up, but I know that, she's been a one-woman show, but I know she was hiring some staff. But we'll follow up and we'll get back to you on that.
To the chair.
Yes.
I was trying to does anybody else have any questions on that?
I haven't seen one.
Okay. To the chair, if there are no other questions on that item, I'd like to go back to the subpoena legislation. Is there a lawyer assigned who's drafting the legislation, or how was the legislation drafted? I heard you indicate that there may be some criminalization, something codified on that. Who is drafting that for us?
That legislation was drafted by our former interim executive director, Alex Nordine.
Is anybody from the law department reviewing that legislation? You indicated there was still some discussion going on. What's the status of the legislation?
It's been reviewed by them. The review has already happened with the law department. We are at the point where council just needs to vote on it. We were sponsored. We needed a sponsor. The finance department sponsored us to push that legislation forward. And so, the finance department sponsored the legislation for us, and so it went through the process with the law department and everything, working with the safety committee, and they were gonna vote on it last month, but what happened was they needed, just basically a legislative summary, and so I think they had it, but I think they kind of overlooked it in the paperwork, and so we just sent it back to them. So
the reason I ask is because if it's going to be a criminal penalty, is it going to be a M1, M2, M3, M4, MM, or do you have any indication?
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Do you have any indication of what level of misdemeanor that would be, whether it be M1, M2, M3, M4, or
No,
minor misdemeanor?
all I know is that it said, the legislation said a fine of up to $250 and up to 30 days.
So they're looking at it as a.
And I can just send, I think, I'm not sure if you all have it, but I know that it was brought to the full commission, but I can just resend the documents out to everybody.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'll make a note of that. And then I think the last thing, basically, just to share with the community and just with the commissioners, is that we are at the end of our term as co-chairs. This term is going to end at the end of January. So we have to go through our process of selecting co-chairs for the next year. And so one of the items that we will do tonight is we will take nominations, and then next month we will vote. And that is, basically how it always works. But I did want to, I know we have it on the agenda, but I think that there was a question about the process. And so the timing of the co-chairs, nominations, and voting is like in our rules, but the process is up to us. So when we get later on the agenda, we can't talk about a process. I know Judge Nelson has sent an email about it. And so, how we do that is our decision. That's not something that's set in stone. So I just want to just put that out there before we get to these committee reports, and then we'll get to the actual nominations. But, we might want to talk about how we want to do it. But that is something that we can decide for
To the
ourselves.
chair?
Yes.
Are you referring to, when you say the process, are you referring to like how we actually vote?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like how we select. That's something that we do determine as a body.
Okay.
And with that, I think that's all for my report.
Okay, we're going to move forward to the committee status reports. First status report given by Commissioner Coleman of the Rules Committee.
Yes, so I'm chairs of the Rules Committee, and what we are in the process of doing right now is taking in either requested revisions or lessons learned to make revisions to our evidentiary hearing procedure. So we actually are pretty far along on that, and the game plan is to take them all in at the committee level so that we only go to the full commission once and we can pass all revisions at one time, opposed to continuously revising a document that we are going to be using to actually hold hearings. So if any commissioner does have any provisions that they have concerns about, if they have any requested changes, you can send those to me to be considered by the Rules Committee. And our last round of these changes, we do intend to be at the January Rules Committee meeting, which should be January 13th. So that is your time to speak. So review the current evidentiary hearing procedure. If you have any questions or issues, get them to the Rules Committee. Thanks.
Thank you. Next is our Police Accountability Committee, chaired by Commissioner Chandra Morera Benito.
Thank you. Yes, one update is that our January meeting is going to be different than our regularly scheduled meetings. So our regularly scheduled meeting is the first Monday of the second Monday of every month from 5:30 to 7 for January, due to a couple of commissioners being out of town, including myself. We have moved that meeting to being Tuesday, January 6th from 5:30 to 7 at the CBC offices. We are still in the process of figuring out our procedure for looking through discipline cases that are coming up, or discipline decisions that are coming up, and then utilizing them to identify cases that we may need to review through an evidentiary hearing, and also using those cases to determine inclusion on a Brady Giglio list. We will have work group meetings addressing Brady Giglio and the discipline decision, where we will work on reviewing the last month of cases and then bringing that to the accountability committee. So that first work group meeting will be in January. And we did have some discussion about, we had been kind of in the process of trying to create a database of all the discipline decisions from the last couple of years. With being limited on staff right now, we are, and due to some questions that have come up about what the collective bargaining agreements say about the amount of time that can go by before, how much time can go by since an incident was discovered in terms of when discipline can happen. We are going to start with more recent cases as we kind of get some of those questions figured out. So we are working with the co-chairs to ask some questions of the chief, and we have been reviewing the collective bargaining agreements to try to understand how those agreements are working with us. And we've also sent some questions to the law department regarding the discipline settlement that was reached between the officers and the law department. That was a difference in the discipline process. So we are looking into that. Based on that, we have decided to focus on more recent cases, and we will have a work group meeting in January, and then I'm hoping that in February we can kind of start to see that more regular process. And then also cases right now are on hold, discipline review cases that would potentially be heard in an evidentiary hearing or would come to the committee to decide whether to send it forward to an evidentiary hearing are on hold right now until we have an executive director, because it is the executive director that completes the case review package. And so I'm hoping that we can get a new executive director installed very shortly so that we can get that process going again.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is our Police Policy Committee, chaired by Commissioner Pete Van Leer.
Thank you, Co-Chair. So yeah, we just have a few updates. We did meet the other night, I guess last night, and we basically went through some conversation, discussion, and we'll be working on our pursuit policy, wearable camera systems, and in-car camera systems are two of the top priorities that we're hoping to pass in January at our meeting, the second Wednesday of January, and bring them to the full commission in our January meeting. There's other social media is also one of them, and there's a few other smaller ones, but those are two of the more priority ones that we've been discussing for quite a while, and for various reasons have stalled, and we're getting back into them. The other piece that Co-Chair Adams mentioned, I think, is worth talking about a little bit, but we, as you know, we passed corrective action guidance GPO at our last full commission meeting, and we're working through some feedback from the division, and we'll probably, we'll have to talk through that and figure out if that needs to come back through the policy committee and the full commission, or if we can keep moving that forward as we passed it. That's it.
Thank you. Next is the Outreach Committee, chaired by our Commissioner Maya Kincaid.
Hello again, everybody. I actually do not have much to report, but Mr. Houston, I heard what you said, and I completely agree with you, that it is a very important part of our mission that we engage a lot more intentionally and a lot deeper with the greater community, and we do need to figure out what some methods would be to get more individuals from the community into each of these meetings. And we have talked about this before. Again, a ball that I will take accountability for having dropped. But if we can connect on that, if you have some ideas for me, and I'll share the ideas that I already have with you. And I know that my colleagues have ideas as well. We have talked about creating work groups, and so that's not something that I have done yet or done before, but we also have discussed in our outreach meeting that we want to open up those outreach meetings for more conversations so that we can get feedback from the community on a consistent basis. And the first time we intend to do that will be our January meeting. I would like to start the year with a little more of a conversation. So our first meeting, our meetings are the first Monday of every month. And so starting in January, that meeting will be on Monday, January 5th. at 6 p.m. So we hope to see you there, and we will get an agenda for that meeting out much sooner than I have in the past. So thank you for being patient with me.
To the chair, to the chair of the commission, of the committee.
Yes, sir.
I was talking to one of the community members about outreach. Do we have any relationships with our media partners, the cable channels, other than TV20, the cable channels, the newspapers, and other major media, so that we can make sure our meetings are announced on? And if we have the budget for it, to make sure we get our meetings on the major channels that service our community, including radio, the various other serious, and running a regular announcements about our general commission meetings and so forth.
So I know that each of us have different individual relationships, and again, at the start of the year, those are some relationships I plan to begin leveraging for a successful, next 12 months. I do have some personal relationships that I can leverage with different media outlets, and as I've talked about many, many times, I really do want to put a focus on us using social media more effectively, because currently we don't really use social media effectively, and I think that's something that'll help us, especially with very specific demographics. Kind of tapping into social media, but as we have talked about, and this is not an excuse, this is just me being honest, I think that all of us here agree, we all have a lot of things going on, but what I am personally working on in regard to that is just kind of organizing and prioritizing how we do that outreach so that it can be more consistent. But again, if you have some contacts for me, which I know you do, I will take the steps to reach out to those outlets in the beginning of the year, in the first quarter of the year.
To the chair and to the co-chair, I was really referring not so much to, I know you're working very hard, I'm talking about utilizing paid media. Do we have a budget? To the chair, do we have a budget? To the budget committee chairperson, do we have a budget amount that we can actually spend on paid media?
Through the chair, I don't believe it's a specific one to media, but there might be a subsection we can potentially use to do that, yeah.
Thank you.
And he is on that committee as well, so it kind of.
Okay. Is that all, Commissioner Kincaid?
Yes, I think that's all for me.
I just want to add to the commissioner. I think what you're looking for in the budget would probably be under professional services. I think there's a budget item that is a professional services, but in general, if there are funds in the operation side of our budget, you can work with the budget chair, and if the funds are there, you can use those for those purposes if you like.
Next is our report from our Budget and Grants Committee, given by Commissioner Umason, who chairs that committee.
Thank you for that, and thank you everyone for being here. So we do have a plan for the budget and grants, so it's twofold. One was to what Dr. Adams mentioned, that we've reached out to the law department just to verify every grantee what information is missing from someone, or if anyone has submitted all their documentation, what that looks like. The second part was I connected with the United Black Fund. I'm reaching out to every grantee, so if you haven't received a communication from them, then I can talk to you today and we can get that information. We just want to make sure that we have information from everybody. There's like 9 documents that we need that have to go through the law department. Once that happens, I'm just reaching out to the city finance director, please, we need these payments sent out, just because I personally can't issue out the funds. So that would be the plan to do that. So that's the plan. And, this has been going on for too long. And, the last time I said, it's unacceptable. So if I don't do anything before I leave out of here, it's going to be this. So thank you for being here. I'd like to connect with you after this so we can get it done. So that's the plan.
Oh, and Mr. Umason, we have another grantee over here. I know he would like to connect with you.
Got you. Appreciate you.
So our training chair isn't here, and I was not given a report for her, so we'll move on to the Promotions and Evaluations Committee, who is temporarily being chaired by our Commissioner, Adriana Rodriguez.
Thank you. So for the good of the order, it'll be very fast. Overall, as I mentioned in the prior meeting, there are a variety of concerns, so it has been pending. I look forward to working to ensure to help level set that.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is our new business. We're going to discuss our CPC Executive Committee.
So previously, we had talked about forming an executive committee where the idea would be sort of like to get the leadership of the commission in terms of the chairs of the committees together in a regular meeting to sort of just kind of not just brainstorm, sometimes brainstorm, but just like a more effective communication tool. And I think the idea is that if the chairs of the committees are in regular communications in a meeting, then it sort of is like we can communicate through the chairs more effectively. And also like balance work, and it'll also allow us to potentially, have committees collaborating with each other because we'll be sitting in regular meetings. And I'm going to pass it over to Commissioner Kincaid, but I know that she and I had a conversation about this, and we were, thinking it through. And so one of the challenges that we do have by forming an executive committee, like we went through and we talked about who chairs this, who chairs that. And so one of the challenges is that, the quorum for those committees, because we do have, I think we ended up with like 6 or 7 commissioners. So we just want to open up the discussion about this and like just kind of think through like how we would do it, how it would be structured. But I do think that it would be a good thing for the commission. And I think we were talking about also sort of like how sometimes there's a lot of like responsibilities on the co-chairs, and we've been having discussions about like, well, how do we disseminate more information better, but also maybe like distribute like the work a little bit more evenly as well. So that was something that we were talking about. So I know Commissioner Kincaid had called me about it, so I'm going to pass it to her now.
Thank you, Chair. So just really briefly, I think honestly you covered the general gist of it. So I think the executive committee would be really effective for us to, as Co-Chair Adams stated, as Dr. Adams stated, to disseminate information among the entire commission, because what we have found is that sometimes because our co-chairs are actively dealing with all these different moving parts, just for example, the monthly meeting with Chief Todd, dealing with receiving all of these documents or making requests and doing, like, there's a bunch of different moving parts that sometimes are not effectively communicated throughout the entire commission. And then that makes it even more difficult for us to effectively communicate to the public exactly what we are working on. Because as Sam stated, I think there is a lot more internal work being done than people can obviously see, but that work is essentially ineffective if the public and the community can't see it. And so the executive committee would give us an outlet among each other to have certain discussions so that we can figure out what the best way to disseminate information among ourselves and to the public is. And that will also, to your point, give us an opportunity to collaborate. So for example, outreach needs to actively collaborate with budgets and grants so that we can determine what our budget availability is for us to reach out to media outlets, right? And that's just one obvious example. There are various other examples like outreach and training. Taya is actively working on getting us a certain amount of hours of annual police training so that we can speak more effectively to training, and we're more informed when we have to vote on whether or not trainings are effective. We're responsible for passing those trainings. And I think obviously accountability and promotions and evaluations need to collaborate with one another. So this executive committee will allow us to discuss what those collaborations look like more effectively and plan for them. I think that what we wanted to make sure we do, to Dr. Adams' point, is that because we will have quorum, that we don't want to break any Open Meetings Act laws or anything of that nature, but we do need these meetings to feel a little bit more like brainstorming sessions or opportunity for us to talk. So what we were considering, just kind of putting it out there, is that these meetings would still be very much open to the public, but we may not stream them. We would invite the public to be a part of them because we obviously will want public feedback. So those who can make it to the meeting, and essentially it's equally as effective without streaming it because those who may be watching from home can't actually communicate with us directly in this space right now anyway. But we would want to open those meetings up to the public so that you can be a part of them, but they would feel much more like brainstorming sessions between the chairs of each individual committee so that we can be more effective and get more work done in our committees, if that makes sense. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I think that the executive committee is a great idea because it would obviously be a quorum, as Commissioner Kincaid just said. Yeah, we could not do any votes because that would be making a decision of the whole commission, and it would need to be open. I have some concerns about not streaming them when we stream every other committee meeting and commission meeting. I think we could still brainstorm and have all the same discussions, and I don't see why streaming them. I have some concerns about it. I'm not opposed necessarily, but that's kind of a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction I have. The other thing that I just want to acknowledge that I think we had 2 public comments today about feeling concerned about the amount of work that's coming out of the commission and are we achieving what we were set out to achieve and what people expect of 13 or 12 right now, highly talented, experienced people. And I think that obviously we're in a challenging situation right now with only being down to 1 staff member, not having an executive director. There's a lot of limitations on it. But you know, when we interviewed and when we were selected, we were told to expect the commission to be 10 hours a week of work. And I can tell you that most weeks I am not doing 10 hours a week of work. And I think that probably, other than the co-chairs, very few of us are doing 10 hours a week of work. And I think that we do really have a duty to the taxpayer, a duty to the public, and also a duty to, this is the most powerful, most influential police commission that this country has ever seen. And I think that we all can do better with how much we put into this and how much we get out. There's a lot of canceled meetings canceled last minute. There's a lot of we work in the meeting and don't do a lot in between. And I say this, I'm also guilty of this. I think that anything that we can do to increase the effectiveness of the work that we're doing and improve the consistency of that work, I think is important. But I do kind of feel like we need to have a little bit of a come to Jesus as a commission of are we doing the work that we were asked and sworn in to do, and that are we given the amount that we were told that this would be expected of us? And so I think absolutely yes to this. And I also think that the work that's been being done on the commission has been uneven. There's been a few people doing a lot more. I think especially the co-chairs, especially Commissioner Van Leer, putting so many hours. And that's not to say that the rest of us aren't also working. I mean, new commissioners came in, brand new, running committees, have done great, have jumped in, but it's simply not enough. And I fear that we are turning in, this is not a board where you show up to the meetings and make votes and give your opinions and then walk out the door. This is a working commission, and I include myself in the fact that we need to do better. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
I just want to, okay, guys. I'm sorry, guys. One moment. I just want to say, I call the meeting to order. I mean, I get it. But we have to stay on topic, and we're talking about the executive committee. So I know previous interim executive director Alex Nordine considered having a committee of the whole, because that would kind of offset that quorum issue. I'm going to be honest, I don't know a lot about the rules of that, but I think we should look into that and weigh our options. Our previous interim executive director, Alex Nordine, is committee of the whole. I know city council does that. So I would like to look into what, the rules of that, those rules are, so we can compare to see if that would be a better option. So I think this is something we can, continue to discuss and hopefully make a final decision in January. Co-Chair Adams. I'm sorry, Commissioner Coleman.
I just wanted to highlight, it has been my experience, and I do think that we allow Ohio Sunshine laws to scare us out of working to the point where it is an impediment. And there are ways to do things where we can actually have working meetings and get the work done without violating anything. And so I know you all were just brainstorming about maybe not streaming or what have you. If that gets it more comfortable for people to work, I'm fine with not streaming it because it's not required by the law. So whatever we need to do to follow Ohio's law and still be able to get the work done, I'm in total support of that. And an executive committee is absolutely needed. Most boards, commissions already have them. And I think Co-Chair Shireen, what you were talking about as a committee of the whole, what Alex was trying to accomplish with that was essentially to where we can have actual working, where we are conversing, working with each other, and not as like a presentation to the community. And so whatever the mechanism is, I think it needs to happen, but I think we could do both of those things.
Thank you.
And sorry, my blood was boiling a little bit. I did my 10 hours this week.
Okay, so
Where-
I
Yeah,
understand, but we have to.
Maybe she
I
can let
bill
you
my
know.
time
Maybe she
to
can
the
let you know
6th
after.
minute. I have to bill my time. I can pull up my timers. I spent 3 hours going through all of our past edits that have come into the evidentiary hearing manual. So that would include the monitoring team comments. I went back to the DOJ comments that essentially we kind of shoot aside before getting to the ones that came here. And then I've gathered all of the comments that I could find that we've had from commissioners that have come in. So that involved going through different notes from various meetings and involved reviewing video from various meetings to see what our actual lessons learned are for the evidentiary hearing manual. And then going back over the one case we heard and what went wrong there, what did we learn, and what can we input? Because I'm trying to come up with how we improve the evidentiary hearing procedure. And then, so I had a policy meeting last night, rules meeting the night before, so that's 3.5 to 4 hours right there, and reviewing policies to get ready for the policy committee meeting, because I have something on my list that I have not been able to get to, which is the social media policy. And so I dusted that off.
Thank you, Commissioner Coleman.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
I'll call the meeting
Ms.
to
Bickerstaff,
order.
we're
I'm
gonna-
sorry. We have to move forward, Ms. Bickerstaff. Is there any further comments related to the CPC Executive Committee? Okay, we're going to move forward with the CPC co-chair nominations.
All right, so the time is here. Our year is done almost. And so basically how this works is anyone can nominate themselves or someone can nominate someone who is interested in running for co-chair. And so we'll just take the names. There no vote or anything is needed, and then we'll create ballots for next month.
To the chairperson, how many nominations can a single commissioner make?
I don't think we've ever put a limit on how many nominations.
To the chair, floor is open for nominations. I'd like to nominate Tara Coleman for the position of co-chair.
Commissioner Coleman has been nominated by Commissioner Nelson.
I also like to, if I'm looking for any other hands, I don't want to speak before someone else gets a chance. If seeing no hand, I'd also like to place in nomination the name of Maya Kincaid.
Okay. Commissioner Kincaid has also been nominated by Commissioner Nelson.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
In the past, what we did was there was a nomination that was made, and then there was the people who were nominated then sent out via email whether they accepted so I just want to clarify like the process for, are we asking people to accept or decline tonight, or should they email the commission to let them know if they're accepting the nomination?
What was the time frame?
I can't remember.
There was
because
also
it
a
2 years
time
ago.
frame.
Do you remember, Adriana?
Not on the top of my head. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared. But I can look at my email and follow up.
Yeah, so
I
what
think
we'll,
the first year we just accepted or declined in the meeting. The second year we had them email to whether they accepted. They didn't have to decide that night. So I just
Right.
wanted to clarify.
I kind of like the email because it kind of gave people time to think about it. So maybe we give people, we'll send out an email with the list of nominees and then have a deadline of when they give a response to approve their to accept the nomination.
Yeah. Then I have 2 nominations as well. One is on behalf of Taya, wanted me on her behalf to nominate Sharina Zayed as co-chair, and then I myself am nominating Dr. Adams as co-chair.
Is everyone okay with the email confirmation? Yes, okay. All right, do we have any others that are interested or who would like to nominate someone? Commissioner Coleman, you? Okay.
I nominate Commissioner Emo Wilson.
To the chair,
Yeah.
seeing that, I just want to make sure I don't speak quickly. Seeing that there are no other nominations, I move nominations be closed.
All right.
Are there any objections? He's moving to close nominations. Okay. Nominations closed.
Now, I think the last part of this is that we should decide how we will vote.
Mr. Chairman, I think that there needs to be a second of that motion. My motion to close nominations.
I'll second that motion.
I don't think there was a motion to open nominations.
I motion. Oh, okay.
So
moved
I
to
just think,
close.
yeah. So I think we don't have to.
You don't have to do it.
We don't have to vote for that. I don't think so.
Before we talk about the vote, can we clarify when people should email and then when the commission will be notified of who accepted nomination so that we can kind of start the process of discernment?
Yeah, so tomorrow morning by 10 a.m., we'll send out the email with the nominations, and I'm thinking maybe about a week to accept, so a week from tomorrow.
So I think at this point, we should talk about what that voting process will look like. It's open for all commissioners. Commissioner Coleman, or?
I haven't had time to actually look at it. I would propose we come up with some ideas and get them out via email. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't think we need to or should actually decide in this moment, only because I don't have in front of me what I would want to look at to be able to make a suggestion.
That makes sense to me.
to the chair as a new commissioner, I'm asked, you don't know something, you always ask, what was your previous method of electing co-chairs?
Where's Commissioner Benito?
Yeah, so we've done it two different ways. So the first election we had, everybody wrote, there was one round of voting, and you voted for two people during that vote, and then they were all read and tallied, and the highest two people who received votes won the co-chairs. The second time we voted, we did 2 rounds of voting, and the first we voted on one round, and the person who won that one, they had, if they got a majority, then they won one, and then there was a second round of voting. If I am misremembering, my fellow commissioners from that time
No,
can
you're right.
clarify.
Through the chair?
Yeah.
So for clarity, when you say 2 rounds of voting, we're voting for 1 seat. Everybody votes for seat 1, and then we vote for seat 2 based on
That was
who's
the second
left.
time.
Okay.
Correct, yeah.
To the chair, which one was the most recent method used?
The second.
Second method, thank you.
So voting for 1 seat at a time.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So I guess we'll figure it out within the next month or so.
And then once we decide, we'll vote on that method and use it during the meeting.
All right. Have one other piece of new business, if you're finished with the nominations.
Yes.
We're finished with that? One other piece of new business. At the last meeting, we were talking about looking for space. I know some of you have expressed a desire to look for new space and to avoid the snafu we had this current time, we had to sort of rush into it. And you asked me to serve as an ad hoc chairperson. If anyone wants to serve with me on the committee, please just give me your name. And I invite any and everybody that is a part of this. And we'll also reach out to some community folk in order to begin the process of trying to identify new space. And some of the information that we'll be considering is the square footage we have now, what our budget will allow, and accessibility to public transportation. Okay, those are some of the key issues that I understand were part of the consideration. So,
Could you repeat the comment a little closer to the mic, or have the co-chairs repeat? I missed some of what you said, I'm sorry.
at the last meeting, we talked about the process that we will use for identifying space going forward. And we also want to avoid the snafu that occurred the last time. So I was sort of asked to serve as an ad hoc chairperson of such committee. And what I'm saying is that I'm asking for anyone who'd like to serve on that committee to please give me your name. And we'd also reach out to community partners to also assist in that. 3 of the things that will be important will be proximity to public transportation, square footage similar to what we currently have, as well as what our budget will allow. And there are a couple of spots. In fact, one of the possibilities may be right next door in the foundation offices. But we'll be looking around, and we encourage both commissioners who like to participate as well as community members who like to participate in that as well. And we're also looking for something centrally located so that no one has to travel too far from either end of town. Okay, thank you.
To the commissioner, I don't know if you're including this in the public transportation, but I think we are also, so to make sure that we're gonna look for like where there's parking for the public as well.
That's another extremely important consideration. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that. We're going to move forward to our second public comment period. Does anyone like to make a second public comment?
First of all, I want to say one thing. Don't ever tell me to be quiet. Terry Wong coming here to talk to you guys like y'all crap, and you say nothing. Don't ever do that to me again. Terry Coleman, I asked you a question. Never questioned you before, and you got real nasty about it. Real nasty. But you're not nasty to Terry Wong. Why? Because she's Asian and I'm black. So that's discriminatory right there. That's discriminatory, and you know it. I got every right to know what y'all doing with the money, period. She admitted what you guys been doing. Nothing. This one over here, Rodriguez, been holding on to that commander's information, that procedure's going on with that for over a year. She's done nothing. She keeps saying the same thing over and over, is pending. And this is why Commissioner Nelson is leaving, because he know I'm telling the truth. Have a good day. So you know what's up. She's been saying pending for over a year. She's done nothing. She's sitting there smiling. She thinks it's funny. This is the type of commissioner, just like police. We don't need dirty police on the force. We don't need dirty commissioners in that seat. She's getting paid and not doing nothing. So I'm gonna do a public record request and ask you guys for all your meetings you go to and what hours you spend. And I am one of the creators that got you in that seat. And I will get you out of that seat. Try me. I don't care who you know.
I'm a little different, okay? I'm just going to say things that make common sense. To me, it should be the co-chairs, should be the older members should come. I don't think new members have enough knowledge. Not saying that you can't gain knowledge, but I don't think you guys have enough knowledge to be caught up to what's going on. I stated earlier that this is a lot bigger than everybody in this room, okay? And I'm hoping that y'all understand that, okay? Because nothing is personal here. Nothing is personal here. All this body language, rolling your eyes and different things like that, let's keep in mind, you chose the position. This is what comes with the position, constructive criticism, okay? As humans, constructive criticism, what comes with your jobs. And if you can't handle constructive criticism, then I think you picked the wrong job. And that's just flat out. And that's my personal opinion. Now, I don't know you two young ladies. I know you are new, but I do know the older members have been here, and I think they have a little more savvy sense about what needs to be taking place, and I think maybe you can attach to them and learn the position before you want the position. That's what I would suggest, okay? Because I believe in all of you guys. I really do. I really do believe in everybody in this room, and I want you to know that. And I'm speaking from the heart and compassion. Okay? Because we are all human beings right now, and we are all faced with a lot of uphill battles, work and personal, okay? And I suggest that we try to put those things in proper perspective. Because again, I've started telling you guys, you are being watched, okay? Everybody's being watched. You're being televised. They're watching body language. They're watching how you communicate with each other, okay? And it's imperative that you guys stay professional even when you get uncomfortable. Make sense? I love you guys. Appreciate your attention.
Thank you. Are there any other comments that need to be made? Alrighty, with that being said, I would like to thank every single member of the community who came out today, our grantees, the folks from NLDP, Cohort 18. Thank you for coming out. We really appreciate the support. Meeting adjourned.